Hi, everybody. Angel here. Hope you're doing great. I'm super excited to speak with Bridie today, and we will be talking about travel. So, thanks for joining. We were going to get started very soon.
Hello, Angel.
How are you, Bridie?
I'm really good, thank you. Really good. It's such a beautiful morning. It's only 8 a.m., but look at this sun. I'm just outside, just soaking it all in.
You look awesome. And when I sent you the invitation, I wasn't sure which part of the world you were in. So it was afterwards that I realized that you're way out there on Pacific time. So it is a little bit early, and I apologize for that.
Absolutely no need to apologize. I'm always up hours before this time. So actually, this is perfect because we're going on a little bit of a jaunt into the city later on today. So yeah, all good, all good. And thank you so
Awesome.
much, Angel, for having me on here today.
Thank you. And now I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name properly. So please give me a tutorial.
You don't need one because you got it perfect.
Awesome. All right, Bridie. And I want to just say how beautiful your landscape is, your view behind you.
Yeah, yeah, it is beautiful. And it's not just here. Would you like to see like the
Sure.
rest? Okay, let me see if
Yeah,
I can do it. Let me
everyone
see if
can
I can do it.
see. Oh
Okay, so
my
we're
God.
actually
Oh my
located in we're
Lord.
located in Squamish, which is a little town,
Oh,
um, just an hour north of Vancouver, and
wow.
we're actually in the end of a fjord. So we
Oh,
have the fjord which sort of finishes just here. This used to be a river. Sorry, it's really bright. You're not going to be able to see, but we've got
oh
like
wow.
mountains up there,
Yes.
and we're just like about an hour or so from Whistler, which
Wow.
is a famous ski resort. And this
Uh-huh.
used to be a um, sort of like a working class logging town, but it's become really gentrified in the past 10 or 15 years or so. And
Wow.
as a result, lots of people are moving here. And we moved here last year and we love it, especially on mornings like this.
It's spectacular. I just can't imagine. Like the combination of water, forests, and mountains. You have everything, and
You've
sunshine.
got it. You've got it. Now, I will add, it's not always sunshine because here on the Pacific Northwest, we get a lot of rain.
Yeah.
And until a year ago, I was living in Thailand, which was, of course, a hot
Oh,
place and
yeah.
very, very bright and sunny a lot of the time. So I've just come out of my first winter and I really feel like it was a little bit of a challenge, but of course, I'm so happy that it's the summer now.
It's spectacular. I want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Thank you so much for joining. And today we're speaking with Bridie, and she is in the beautiful western region of Canada, and that view is just out of this world. It's out of this world. So for everyone who's joining live or on the replay, you had a treat today. And without further ado, I'm just going to jump right in because we have a lot of topics. And Bridie, I have been following your page for a while. And because of the whole situation that happened since last year, and now the world is reopening, I thought it would be really cool and great and helpful for people to hear from you in terms of travel, as you know, we kind of pick up the pieces. However, before we jump specifically into travel, I would like to ask you to please share your vegan journey with us, how you started and how you ended up to where you are today. And I will be playing with filters. I forgot to mention that I was enthralled with your view. So if you could share with us, please, your vegan journey, how you started and how you ended up to where you are today. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again, Angel, for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on here with you. Um, So yeah, I had been vegetarian since I was about 7 years old or something. I was really young when I went vegetarian, for compassionate reasons. Those were the reasons. And I stayed a committed vegetarian for a very long time. And I started doing a lot of travel. I was extremely lucky. I was working as a tour leader for adventure travel company for Intrepid, which is a big small group tour company. I did that for 5 years. I met my partner in Morocco. We then moved to Vietnam, and I have to admit, by the time I moved to Vietnam, I was kind of getting a little bit bored of being vegetarian, and I'll explain why in a moment. And, I don't know whether it was the people that I was hanging out with, but I definitely had travel as a big part of my life. I started to feel like I was missing out on something. I was missing out on the whole experience, these kinds of things. And I almost considered quitting on being vegetarian for a while there, but luckily I didn't, because back in 2009, my partner gifted me, while we were still living in Vietnam, he gifted me one of the first iPhones, and I stumbled across these things called podcasts. Now, of course, they are very, very popular today. Everyone has got a podcast, including myself. But back then, there were not many people with podcasts, and I just stumbled across this podcast called Vegetarian Food for Thought by Colleen Patrick Goodrow. Now, I'm sure many people who follow me, also follow Colleen Patrick Goodrow. And it was through her podcast, it was through her podcast that I became vegan pretty much overnight, I would say. And because not only did she communicate the reasons why to be vegan, like I didn't know any other vegans at all, and I decided that I would go vegan. And not only did she give us all the reasons why to go vegan, she also taught us all the reasons how. Now, of course, these days there are a lot of hows to go vegan, but back then, I didn't know anybody and didn't even have a lot of access to English books. Maybe there was stuff on the internet. I didn't know about it. Anyway, I became vegan, and I started cooking like crazy. And then my partner, who can be a little bit picky with food, his name is Seb, he really liked the food. And then about 6 months after I went vegan, he went on a trip. He did a hiking trip around France, around Mont Blanc. I couldn't go with him. And he tried to be vegan during that time. And then we moved to Thailand, like literally straight afterwards. And then like a few weeks later, he said, "Did you realize I've been vegan for like 3 weeks?" And I was like, "No, but I guess I haven't seen you eating anything." And that was how we both became vegan. And that was in 2009. And it was the best decision we ever made for a myriad of reasons.
Well, shout out to Seb, okay? Number one for that early adopter cell phone. Number two, I mean, he got you on the internet there, mobile, like super quickly. So shout out to Seb, and double shout out for going vegan. This is awesome.
Yes, it was really nice. I would never have expected it from him because, like I say, he's really picky with food. He didn't like a lot of things, but and I couldn't get him to watch any of the terrible films,
they're hard to watch.
Kind of stuff. They're hard to watch because, he comes across as quite brusque at times, but actually he's extremely sensitive, and he often jokes that he became vegan because he didn't want to have to watch those films.
They are super hard to watch. And I've heard people say that they don't want to watch them because they will have to change. And they do not want to change. So they avoid watching them. It really shocked me when I first heard it, but I've heard it so many times now, it doesn't surprise me anymore.
Exactly. So Seb just took it to the next level. He was like, I'll do anything so that I won't have to watch. But I also don't want to be a hypocrite. So I'll just go vegan. So anyway, it was lovely, and it's nice to be on this journey with him. And of course, it's great that we do this together. I know there are a lot of non-vegan vegan couples out there, and you know, they make it work. It's great. But of course, I'm very pleased that Seb decided to join me on this journey.
There you go. Kudos, Seb. There we go. So that leads us then to world vegan travel. How did that come about? How, why, when, what, all of that. Please tell us.
Okay, sure. All right. So as I'm sure it's become clear even before we started the company, we really love travel. Seb and I had met each other as tour guides working for Intrepid Travel in Morocco. And we moved to Vietnam together, and I actually opened a travel agency for a short time while I was over there. Anyway, a big part of this story is that I met Colleen Patrick Gaudreau. Because she had made me become vegan, or inspired me to become vegan. She didn't force me to do anything. I just loved her work. I cannot tell you how many times I listened to her podcasts in that first year. And I really felt like I knew her voice. And she put a call out to ask for some help with some things, like, and I ended up doing some volunteer work with her. And then when we traveled through the United States on a road trip back in, I think it was 2030, something like that, we met up with her and David and went out for dinner. They took us out to dinner to thank us for the work that I'd done. And we just got on like a house on fire. And then Colleen actually was working with another company at the time, and she hosted a trip to Italy. So we went on that trip to Italy because I was just like, I just want to be with Colleen. Oh my gosh, I just love her so much. I want to be with Colleen. Anyway, we went on that trip together, and of course we spent lots of time together, and we became friends, and we realized that we traveled really well together. And we did a lot of trips, including to Rwanda, including to Provence, quite a few things. We met up with them for a while in Oakland. Anyhow, then a little part of this story is we were living in Thailand at the time, in Bangkok, and Seb was working, and he still does have this little arm of the business here where he works on production services for TV shows. And Seb sort of planted this seed with Colleen and David over a few glasses of wine, saying, look, why don't you see if your followers would like to come to Thailand for a trip that we would organize and put together. So she very graciously agreed, and we put a trip together. She put it out to her followers, and it sold out. And then because of the success of that, we went to Vietnam. Because of the success of that, we put together France, and I guess the biggest success was going to Rwanda, where we took 2 groups of 26 people to Rwanda. So yeah, and we've got lots more things on the table. So that's how it's all sort of come about. And now I'm working on this full time. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. Oh, that was a long answer. I'm sorry.
No. That is awesome. Well, shout out to Colleen. I participate in some of her clubhouse rooms, which are super interesting, super helpful, and she's so compassionate with everyone, regardless of where they are on their journey. And I really applaud her for all of the work that she does. It's really just, incredible. The just her energy, and she's so giving as well. She's very, very generous, and so I applaud her, and you as well. So I want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Thank you for joining, and please put your questions and comments down below for Bridie, and she'll be happy to answer. And while we wait, let's go to our next topic, which is, so the world is opening up now in 2021, and I would like to know what's happening in 2021 in terms of the way you all are approaching travel this year, some of the trips you have coming up, and then we can go into next year and what the vision is and the plans are for next year, please.
Sure thing, sure thing. Okay, so obviously 2020 was a dud. We cancelled all of those trips, sadly, or postponed a couple. And travel is definitely starting to open up again, and we do have a trip to Tuscany, which did sell out, and that we're going to do. And if I mean, it's not exactly super big news. I mean, I don't expect regular people to be sort of following all of these things, these announcements, and all of the regulations and requirements as carefully as we do, obviously. And but it does seem like it. Well, it doesn't seem, they are. Countries are opening up, and they are really keen to get people back in a careful, managed way. And I mean, of course, we do have to be cautious, and we have to keep our expectations in check. With any travel we do, if 2020 taught us anything, it's that the best laid plans can go can could go erase. But yeah, so basically, a lot of countries are now starting to open up, and I just want to draw attention. And if people want to, they can message me, they can send me a quick DM, and after this I'll get back to them with the word map in it. Just put the word map in it, and I will send you a link to this really interesting resource that I found that I think is going to be very helpful for people as they decide to leave the country where they are, because you can see very clearly on this map, and it's put together by some data analysts and people that are amazing at putting graphics together. It's actually hosted on G Adventures, which is a group tour company. And basically you can see here the four different categories. There are like free to travel, you don't need any paperwork at all. There is the second one, there are some requirements. For example, you need to provide some negative tests, or you need to be fully vaccinated, or you need to prove that you've recently recovered from COVID. The third one is like, yeah, you can enter, but there's going to be a quarantine. And then the fourth one is like, yeah, you can't enter unless you're a resident or you're a citizen of that country. And then you might have some issues. And if you look at this map, you can really see that things are really changing. And I really like this map because not only does it show you what it is that you need to do to get into that country, it also shows you exactly what you need to do to get back into your home country from that country. So it's really powerful. Now, of course, you shouldn't base all of your plans just on this map. So just DM me map, and I'll send you the link to this map. Because this is a big thing, because you're coming into your country and, you're coming from France. So what exactly are the requirements to come in? And of course, things can change, and you should always double check. But I feel like it's a really good starting point. Anyway, it seems like countries really want to open up again in a very careful, managed way, because tourism is huge in so many of these countries and for the economy. And, as long as we do it carefully, then there's no big reason not to. And I think countries and airlines are in a much better place with understanding how the pandemic works, how the coronavirus works, what the risks are, and how to mitigate them. So yeah, it feels very positive. And this map that I keep on going on about is really good. It seems to be updated really quickly. And yeah, countries are doing a really good job, I think, of opening in a safe way. So yeah, does that answer your question about that?
That is awesome. So everybody, please DM the word MAP, M-A-P, to World Vegan Travel. I have their Instagram page pinned on the bottom with a little summary of our agenda, just so I don't get lost there. And Bridie will be happy to send you the map. I will be DMing you the word map as well. So I am super fascinated by all of this. And as you said, I know things are changing every day. I totally understand that, but it is great. And I'm sure they're updating it as quickly as they can. So, you know, there's that as well. Everyone is scrambling, regardless of what, you know,
Yes.
website you're talking about, which tool you're talking about. Everybody is scrambling to stay up to the minute. So it's
Yes.
not only going to be a challenge for this particular app, it's everybody is just trying to keep up here with the fast pace. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Bridie. Please put your questions and comments down below for Bridie, and she'll be happy to answer. And so, Bridie, what is happening in 2021 regarding your upcoming trips, please?
Sure, of course. So we have a trip to Tuscany that they're sold out. If people are interested, they can go on the wait list. But this trip to Tuscany is kind of interesting. Italy is one of these sort of second tier countries where they are opening up, but you have to have tests at the airport, or you have to prove that you're vaccinated or, you know, recovered or have had a negative test. But you can go there and pretty much everything is okay. So we had sold enough places to decide just a week ago that we were going to go ahead and confirm this trip as a go, because of course we can only run the trips if we have enough spots on them, of course. And we had a lot of factors that decided whether the trip would go ahead or not. And, you know, I've sort of explained a couple of them already, but one of them, which was a really big thing for me, is that a lot of the really big tour companies, like group tour companies like G Adventures, like Intrepid and Kontiki and all of these other big groups, they've started their group tours starting in July and August, these kinds of things. So, you know, these big companies are making these decisions, and they would not make these lightly because there's a lot riding on it for them. And, you know, it's funny because I went on their website and now they just keep on sending me ads. So they're obviously pretty sure that it's going to go ahead because they're advertising these trips like crazy. So, yeah, so we have this beautiful trip to Tuscany. I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's with Colleen Patrick Goudreau as well. So Colleen will be coming on this trip alongside her husband David, and we'll be going to Tuscany and staying in an all-vegan villa called Agrivia e Pini. And
I
you can go
follow
follow them
them
on.
as well. I follow them.
What do you think? What
It's
do you think?
it's so attractive. I keep thinking, how soon can I get over there?
Yeah, yeah,
I will just say, I went to I've only been to Italy twice. The first time was like a full week, and the second time was just overnight. But the first time I went, I never knew that tomatoes could taste the way they taste. I never
Everyone
knew
talks
that.
about the
Oh
tomatoes,
yeah.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
I was blown away. I was like, no, this can't be true. Like, no. I've been eating tomatoes all my life. Why do they taste so good here? Like, everything was just so fresh.
Yeah, yeah, they are incredible, absolutely incredible. Yeah, you can just eat them like popcorn, really. It's incredible.
It's amazing. Amazing. So, yes, I do follow them. I'm sorry. I just had to tell you that I do follow them.
Yes. Well, I advise anyone listening, watching this, to go and also check them out, because their place is incredible. It's this little villa just outside a UNESCO World Heritage Village, and it's surrounded by vines and olive trees. It's just perfect. So this trip really is like a sort of traditional European Tuscan trip, but made vegan, with Colleen Patrick Goudreau. So that's what that's like. And then the last offering of 2020, we're doing back-to-back Cape Town and Botswana. So the first trip with Colleen Patrick Goudreau is actually sold out, but we do have some spots on our trip over the new year. So they're both basically the same itinerary, except Colleen's on one and Jennifer Hadley is on the other. But I'll talk about the itinerary for a moment. So, of course, Cape Town and Botswana, it's really sort of all about the animals on this trip. I should say in Tuscany, we do go to visit some sanctuaries as well.
Oh, nice.
But oh, sorry for the noise. But basically, in Cape Town, we'll be meeting everybody in Cape Town, and then we'll be flying to Morn. Morn is a town which is like in Botswana, which is like the jumping off spot for a lot of the safaris in Botswana. Now, Botswana is very known for its incredible wildlife diversity, the huge amount of animals that are there, and also, generally speaking, its conservation practices are very, very good, and the way they manage tourism is really, really good as well. So Botswana really sort of implemented a high cost, great value kind of thing. So going there is not super cheap. I mean, our trips are generally quite luxurious. They're quite fancy. And one of the reasons behind that, I should have put this in a before question, is that when Seb and I started traveling, we realized that Seb started to collect points. He started to become a bit of a travel hack, you know, those credit card points. And we were lucky enough to stay in these beautiful places. And we realized that as a vegan, you don't get good value at these places, and it's still a bit of a hassle at these places. You're paying, in our case, we weren't paying a lot of money because it was on points, but you know, we weren't getting the good value that it comes with this, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to focus on luxury travel. So the camps that we're staying in 2 camps for 3 nights each, and they're absolutely spectacular. When I say camps, you're not camping. It's not like you're in a tent. I mean, they might be like canvas tents. I invite you to go and check out these desert delta safaris or anything like that, because basically you can imagine these beautiful resorts, and they're built so that they can be removed in the future without any trace of them ever being there. So they're on like platforms. There's no concrete or anything in the earth. But basically you have these incredible views overlooking like an elephant watering hole, for example. And you go and do usually two activities. You get up early in the morning, like super early. You get woken up at like 5 o'clock. Is that you or me?
That's me. I live in a city area. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So you get up early in the morning because, of course, animals are most active in the morning. And you get woken up and you have a coffee and a light breakfast. Then you go out for your morning of looking at the animals, and usually it's in sort of like a jeep or something, but we do walking safaris as well. Then you go and spend 4.5 hours just going and looking at amazing creatures. Then you come back and you have your big brunchy kind of thing, and then they advise you to rest or relax for a few hours because, of course, it's the middle of the day and there aren't so many animals. And then towards the end of the day, sort of just before golden hour, you go out again in jeeps, you know, jeeps for about 6 people. So they're not big jeeps, they're small jeeps. And then you go out and look for animals. And it's all done very nicely, like you never go off the track. And like a lot of the time in safaris, this can be a bit of an issue, whereas the guides, they want to show you all of the animals and they'll just like bushwhack. Which is very problematic because if animals want to get away from people, they should be able to do so. And secondly, I'm always worried about what if there are birds with nests on the ground, these kinds of things. Like we need to make sure. So I'm happy to say that this outfit that we work with, Desert and Delta Safaris, they're extremely good with this. And of course, we'll be talking to them again. And then we go out and spend the afternoon, usually ending up in a place where we'll have sundowners, and then we'll come back for dinner. And of course, all of the food is just vegan and amazing and delicious, and it's just going to be great. And then just before the end of the trip, towards the trip end, we go back to South Africa, and then we go to Greyton, which is a beautiful town, village, not so far from Cape Town, where they have lots of wineries and the most amazing farmed animal sanctuary. It's just beautiful. And I should add that the second trip that still has some spots on is going to be hosted in collaboration with Jennifer Hadley. Now, I invite you to go and check out Jennifer Hadley's Instagram, because she is an incredible wildlife photographer. Do you know her, Angel?
Her name is not ringing a bell. I'll have to check after we chat. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, well, she is a wildlife photographer, and I initially met her when we went to Rwanda. And go look at her pictures, because she is amazing. Now, she is coming on the trip because, well, one, it's amazing to have her. She's just incredible, and she is going to be giving, for those that are interested. If you're not interested in this, it's absolutely fine. She's going to be giving to those that are interested a real like photography focus. So we'll have about 4 or 5 Jeeps. So if you want to be a photographer, even if you just got an iPhone, but you really want to be like a wildlife photographer and practice your skills, then you can go in this particular Jeep and go with her. And the reason why this is good is because if you're serious about taking pictures of the animals, then you need to stop and wait for the animals to do something. And most of us are like, okay, so these animals aren't doing so much, so let's go to the next thing. Whereas photographers are like, no, I'm going to just wait, because the longer I wait here, something's going to happen, and then we'll be able to capture it. She's going to be doing workshops. She's going to be taking pictures of everybody in the whole trip, giving people photos that they'll be able to keep forever. It's going to be really great. And that's going to be over New Year's. So you'll be able to wake up on New Year's Day 2022 in the most stunning setting you could imagine, seeing these astounding animals. And it's just going to be great. Anyway, oh my goodness, I talked a lot. I'm so sorry.
No, this is just so fascinating. I want to say that I guess during the daytime, when you have free time, it will be very hot, because that will be their summer. So that's also a good reason to, take a little siesta or something and kind of stay indoors, because it'll probably be super hot, since they're in the southern hemisphere. But the other thing too, you were talking about, I'm glad you brought up the whole issue of going off-road or not, because this topic came up the other day, actually, in a Clubhouse conversation. We're both on Clubhouse, people, so follow World Vegan Travel and follow me, A Yummy Vegan, on Clubhouse. Super interesting conversations. And someone brought up this concern that safaris may not be animal friendly. And, the person who was answering the question, tried to reassure us that, at least the safaris that she's involved in, they have been very, very conscientious of the safety and the safe space for the animals. So I thought that was really, important, obviously. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I personally have hesitated just on the whole concept of safaris, because I feel like we're invading their privacy and their natural habitat. So yeah. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and it's a really tricky situation, and not everyone will agree with me, I guess, and I'm not saying that me going on safari saves animals, so I'm not going to say that, but it's very interesting, because when the start of the pandemic happened, it was a real problem, because the guides and the travelers there, they're constantly sort of going out and looking at the animals, which is fine. I guess it's maybe a little bit annoying for the animals, but when they're not being visited and seen, that gives more of an opportunity for poachers to come in, because there's no surveillance.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, that's not quite accurate. I'm not saying there's no surveillance. Of course,
no, but I know what you mean.
Doing an amazing job.
Yeah,
These rangers,
I know what you mean. Yeah,
are incredible.
Yeah,
but there's less people going around keeping an eye on things and checking, so it's less risky for poachers to do that. Now, I don't know how widespread of a problem this was. It was certainly something that was talked about a lot during the pandemic, but I don't know how accurate it was. But a lot of the time tourism does help animals in some ways, because when we do photography safaris, i.e. we just take photos, we're not like doing trophy hunting or something. when businesses and countries and governments see the value in photography safaris, and the value that each animal brings to the country. I know I don't like to talk about animals' lives as a monetary thing either, but you have this situation where, okay, well, the value of this animal is going to literally bring in, over the course of its life, hundreds of thousands of dollars, whereas hunting will bring in like a $20,000 value because, you know, the license to kill this animal. This isn't in Botswana. Actually, at the moment, Botswana doesn't have any hunting of animals. They don't sell licenses for animals. There was a bit of a time when they were thinking about going down that road. But and it's the same in Rwanda as well. Like and tourists and the big sum of money that you pay in order to go and see the gorillas, it really does help in many, many ways, because it's $1,500 to see the gorillas, and something like 60% of that $1,500 goes towards the community, goes towards helping the community, so that they can live their lives in comfort and not need to go into the national parks and leave snares for bushmeat, for example, because if they were really hungry, they might have to do that.
Because it's survival. You know, it becomes a matter of survival for them.
And I of course I understand that. That's when you're hungry, you need to do these things. But happily, the numbers of mountain gorillas is actually increasing, which means that they need to expand the national park, which means they have to buy the land from the people, which costs money, which you need visitors. You know, it's tricky, but yeah, I think safaris, if they're well managed, and they can be a really wonderful thing to do if that's your jam, and it's mine.
Yeah, and you know, I also like the part you brought up about how when humans are present with the animals, there is a less likelihood for the poachers to, you know, feel like they have more, shall we say, free range. And I'm currently watching the new documentary that came out on Netflix about the penguins in South Africa. And it is absolutely adorable. And I am just in awe of these penguins. And one of the strategies that the penguins use is to actually use humans as a shield between them and predators. Because humans, they call them the big guys, or the big people, you know, because penguins are so teeny tiny in some cases. And so the penguins actually benefit from the presence of humans.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how is it because the predators won't come close?
Exactly. So, for example, they make their cute little nests in people's gardens, near humans, near a gate where humans are coming and going. And so the predators will not tend to, you know, hang out much when there are more humans there. So I thought that was so brilliant. I mean, that's just another illustration for me of the huge, high emotional and intellectual intelligence of animals. But of course, we don't always understand that. So we have Fly Girl saying, I'll have to watch that. Yeah, it's quite.
Hi, Laura.
Hi there. Yeah, she gave us a hi, ladies, earlier. There we go. And so, yeah, I just found it fascinating. So I can definitely understand what you're saying about having humans around for, in some ways, protection.
Yeah. I mean, it's horrible that it is this way. It would be really nice if we could just leave the animals alone completely. But sadly, our world is not like that. One day, hopefully, there'll be enough space, and animals will be protected, and money won't be the main occupation of many people. But until then, I think this is a pretty okay solution to a
Yeah, no,
problem.
I definitely see the benefit. I want to just thank everyone who's joining. Please put your questions and comments down below for Bridie, and she'll be happy to answer. So, Bridie, tell us, please, what do you have planned for 2022?
Yes, yes. So we are deep in 2022 planning at the moment. Um, uh, okay, right. Let me see if I can get it in chronological order. I'm probably going to mess it up, but we'll try.
No worries.
So we have just released on our website a snow trip, a winter wonderland trip to Whistler. So I'm sure there weren't so many people watching from the beginning, but I live in a beautiful part of the world in Squamish, which is just about an hour from Whistler, which is a very famous ski resort. And it's not just about skiing, it's just about general winter wonderland stuff. And we're going to be hosting a trip there with Colleen Patrick Goodrow, basically enjoying Whistler and the surrounds. And there's going to be a lot of really fun stuff. Of course, we're going to be doing vegan après ski. There will be some free time for people to ski if they want to. If you're not a skier and you've got no intention of skiing, it's absolutely fine. Although it would be an amazing opportunity to give it a try if you've never skied before. But there's so many other incredible activities. We're going to be doing snowshoeing in the forest. We're going to be coming down to Squamish, which is where I live. And it's very interesting here because this place is the winter home for about 2,000 on some years bald eagles. So they really like to come and spend the winter here because there is a lot of food for them here.
Nice.
A lot of salmon carcasses and all of that stuff. There's huge salmon migrations here. And as a result, a lot of animals come and congregate here. And we're going to be rafting on the river and looking at the bald eagles there and learning about, you know, how incredible these animals are. I know it's the national animal or the national bird of the United States.
Yeah, bird. Mm-hmm.
But so I think it has a special place in people's hearts. But they're just such incredible animals, and we actually have about eight bald eagles that live here year round. So just yesterday I saw some bald eagles flying around. Anyway, I digress. And there's going to be like vegan fondue, vegan après ski. Of course, you're going to be getting the same as like a non-vegan would be in terms of breakfast buffets and all of the food made vegan. We're going to be going up cable cars. Actually, I'll just show you here. One of the things we'll be doing is, I don't know whether you're not going to be able to see. Do you see the waterfall? Can you see there's a beautiful waterfall there? Maybe no?
On the left, barely. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So there's actually a cable car that takes you from down here. It's so far away you can't see it.
Whoa.
That takes you right up into the back country there. And of course it's going to be a lot of snow up there.
Oh, I see the waterfall. Right. Yeah. I see it. Now I can see it. It's like a very kind of a pale line, vertical line. Yeah, I see it.
Exactly. It's actually quite a big waterfall, but you just can't see it. And we'll be taking gondolas up there, and you have the beautiful views, if the weather's good, but you have the beautiful views of the Howe Sound, which is this, I mean, you won't be able to tell this from up there, but it's got incredible biodiversity in the waters as well. And yeah, it's basically a fjord. So
beautiful.
There's a lot of reasons to come to British Columbia. It's so beautiful, and we're hoping to do summer trips here as well. But okay, well, that was a lot for just one trip. Okay, then we're hoping to go back to Alsace. We're in the planning stages. Alsace is in France. We're talking with Juliana Hever, who is the plant-based dietitian. She could be hosting a trip with us. We hope that goes ahead. We're also hoping to do a northern Italy trip where we would be doing like Italian lakes, the northern Italian cities, and also the Dolomite area. We're going to be scouting that fairly soon. And what else do we have planned? There's other things. Japan. Okay. So Japan is going to be very interesting. This is Colleen's dream. And we don't have it open yet. We've only got the Whistler trip open. I invite you to go and put your name on the the waiting list for that to get first dibs, because we always contact the waiting list first, and we have 130 people on that waiting list.
This is fabulous.
So
Absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
it's funny that you're often not quite sure which trips will be popular with people, but we were really surprised. But Japan looks interesting, and on Sunday we're going to be opening up the making available to the general public for a trip in November 2022 to Rwanda. And Rwanda is incredible hotels, like amazing hotels, drop dead gorgeous hotels, chimpanzees, golden monkeys, and gorillas. And many people who came on this trip with us in 2019 said that it was one of the best experiences of their lives. We already have some people signed up. We open up our trips to people on the wait list beforehand, and our previous travelers and people on our mailing list, and we've already had a lot of interest in that trip. So yeah, go and check out that as well. I think that's pretty much most of it. I feel like I've talked so much.
It's okay. I know we're going to talk about contact information and details, but tell everybody what your website is, please, where they can go to check out the trips.
Sure, of course. We are worldvegantravel.com, worldvegantravel.com on all of the platforms, and that's where you can find us, can connect with us. And of course, we realize that our trips are a little bit expensive and not necessarily in everybody's budget, or perhaps there's something that they really save up for a long time. And I'm always happy to jump on calls with people and answer any questions they might have, especially at this time. So feel free to drop us a line and I can call you for a call and talk a little bit more about it, because, vacations are really important. We don't get a lot of time each year to spend on vacations, so you want to make sure that you feel really comfortable. So yeah, worldvegantravel.com.
Awesome. And tell us, please, about your podcast. I've been enjoying some of your episodes that I've been listening to, and it's just so informative and inspiring, to hear different people's stories. So tell us, please, a bit about your podcast, when you started it, why you started it, and kind of what your focus or mission is.
Sure. So the World Vegan Travel podcast, I think I did the first episode at the beginning of last year. I usually do it in seasons. We did have a big break in season during the worst of the pandemic, let's say. And I finished the second season a few weeks ago, and I'll be starting the third season the first Monday in July. And basically it's like talking about vegan travel, but it's not necessarily just about vegan travel. You don't just get, here is a great vegan restaurant in Rome that I stayed at for 2 nights. No, it's really about traveling the world as a vegan. So we also talk with a lot of people within the vegan travel industry, or people experts in vegan travel. So we often talk with a lot of vegan bloggers or YouTubers. We also talk with a lot of really interesting vegan hotels as well. So of course, by talking with them, hopefully you will be inspired to go and visit their hotels, but also why you would want to go and visit a place, because you don't always go to a place just for the hotel, because you do it because there's lots of amazing things around. So they share some secrets, secret places, and some inspiration as well. We talk about our trips. Basically, if you like travel and you're a vegan, I think this might be an interesting podcast. I'm not Joe Rogan at all in terms of interview skills or production skills. I do my best. But yeah, it's a nice little project, and I really get to meet with some amazing people. For example, yesterday I recorded an episode with an Italian woman, a vegan, of course, who works with hotels in Italy, and 5-star hotels as a plant-based consultant. So she goes and helps these places go have a vegan menu, and there are some beautiful hotels that now are extremely vegan friendly. So, you know, you can get some tips and tricks there. And during the pandemic, you know, I tried to create some episodes that would be helpful. For example, like how learning languages, because I think this is a great way. Certainly, I've been investing the past year learning Italian because I love the language and the country so much. And through that, I've been, you know, learning more about the country. And yeah, it's just, if you like travel, I think it might be a good place, a good podcast for you to check out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I listened to some, for example, the one with the couple who has the booking service where people can book a vegan homestay, quote unquote, and that was super interesting. And then I also listened to the guy who I can't remember any of their names at the moment. The guy who traveled around the world and who stayed in like I don't know, work exchange sanctuary combos, and it was really interesting.
Yep, you're talking about Lucas Spiegel. Really, really lovely person. My goodness, really lovely. And he just traveled around, stayed in sanctuaries, like you say, did a lot of woofing, which is, in case you don't know, willing workers on organic farms, where he traded his skills and manual labor in exchange for room and board. And he actually wrote a book about that. And that couple that you're talking about is like a vegan version of Airbnb, which is called Veg Visit. So yeah, it's nice to learn about all of these cool things.
Yeah, I have to catch up on some of your other episodes though, but I highly recommend that you all listening and watching check out their podcast, because it's just really great to hear from people of all walks of life, just kind of, you know, how they approach travel, vegan travel differently. So it's really cool. So that's awesome. So let us know, please, just a couple of your top travel tips for vegans. So what would you suggest, kind of just to, you know, give someone a little boost in their travel game?
Sure. Well, one isn't a specific travel tip, but it's a vegan travel tip, but I think it's a tip that everyone can benefit from. Something that a lot of people don't know about, particularly when they go traveling in places where the water isn't potable. So I lived in Asia for a long time and traveled a lot, and I dread to think how many plastic bottles I created because I wasn't able to drink the water from the tap. And when you're on the move, it's really hard. Like when I had my house in Thailand, I always had my purified water and I could just fill it up. But when you're on the move, it's a little bit more difficult. Things are changing. Like a lot of people are offering refill services at hotels and what have you. But there are some really great products out there. One is called the Steri Pen, another is called the Lark Bottle, another is the Life Straw. And the first one that I used was a Steri Pen, which is basically like a little wand. And it's quite expensive, like it's about $100 or something like that. But I worked out that a 3-month trip would pay for it all. Like if you work out how much water you drink on a daily basis in Thailand and how much that water is, it would pay for itself in 3 months. And basically you turn on this little device and you swirl it. A little UV light comes on and you swirl it, and it purifies your water in 90 seconds. I know it feels like a little bit weird, but, you know, go and do your own research. I think you'll be reassured that it actually is effective. And there's some other products like that too. And another tip, oh gosh, it's been a while since I've thought about these. Let me think. Maybe depending on the country that you're going to, I invite you to, if you go onto Facebook, for example, and you find like a vegan group on there, let's say if you're going to the Alsace region, and then you'll like do a search for vegan Alsace or vegan Strasbourg, one of the cities, you can ask questions of the group there. And this can be particularly helpful if you have some questions about animal related activities. Is this, you know, would you vegans would you go and visit this place? And they can give you some feedback about that. And then I really recommend, like, you go and what's the actual function where it comes up like related groups, and you get this big thing of related groups, and you'll often find in there, because when you're searching in a language that's not your first language, if you just search animal sanctuary Tuscany, it doesn't necessarily come up. But if you go and search the related groups to this group that you've just joined, you will find some real gems there that you might not necessarily find. So I guess those are my tips.
I love those. And in fact, I think you discussed that with, is his name Lucas, regarding, like, you know, searching and the challenge of searching either in the local language versus English, and what pops up and what doesn't. So that is an awesome tip. I love those tips. And I also had to do, not had to, but I chose to get a, like a charcoal filter bottle, because just before the whole world blew up, I had been on a really long trip, and I was determined not to keep piling up plastic bottles. So in one location, they actually had a little health food store, quote unquote, and they allowed like free filtered water refills. But then in my next location, I didn't have that option, and so I got a like a glass bottle that had a charcoal filter, and it was just such a good feeling, you know, like not to just accumulate all of that plastic. It was just incredible. So I think that those were just awesome tips. Please put your questions and comments down below for Bridie. We have a couple more questions to get through. And so, Bridie, tell us please about any other future projects or services that you have coming up. I know you gave us a preview of some of the 2022 and later of this year, but is there anything else you wanted to share at this time?
I mean, we have a list as long as your arm of places that we would like to go, and some places are higher up than others. We really would love to do a trip to South Africa. We were going to run one this year or last year. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. But we ended up postponing it. But this trip is going to be really interesting because it's along the garden route of South Africa,
Wow.
which is it's just animals like crazy, because there would be whales, those beautiful penguins that you're talking about, and monkey sanctuaries, bird sanctuaries, farm sanctuaries, but also, of course, all of the incredible animals that you would associate with South Africa. So this would be amazing, absolutely amazing. So what other places do we have? Gosh, I can't think off the top of my head. Yes, Southern Vietnam and Cambodia is a place that we would really love to go to. We would love to go to the Dordogne. We sadly, we've had to cancel Dordogne, which Dordogne is the area in the southwest of France, and it's actually not very vegan friendly. Of course, we would make it good for our travelers, but it is absolutely beautiful there. If you're interested in prehistory and European history and castles and incredible cave paintings and just beautiful, pretty countryside, then that's great. We would love to try to make that happen. And, you know, we sometimes talk about maybe changing our travel style or adding to our travel style a little bit, making trips maybe a little bit more accessible to people, because I know that our trips are a little bit expensive. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we talk about, but I guess those are the things that are ruminating around our head.
That sounds incredible. So I want to ask you, what are the best ways for people to contact you for information, signups, collaboration, questions, anything? What are some of the best ways, please?
Sure, sure. The best way, I think, is probably just dropping us an email, info@wellvegantravel.com. It's also bridie@wellvegantravel.com, but my name is very hard to spell, so info is probably better. And you can also go and be put on our mailing list. Now, there are some real incentives with being on a mailing list because you do get early access to our trips before they go live on our website. And we really are also really open to collaborating with people out there when it comes to being a host on our trip. You can do what Colleen does. And
I
of course,
want to do that. I want to do that.
yes, yes. Well, let's talk. Let's talk.
I want to do that. Yes.
And yeah, it would just be it would be really great because, you know, we're not a huge big travel company yet, and we've learned that collaboration is a really great way to work together. And yeah, basically drop us a line at info@wellvegantravel.com. And sorry, I'm a little bit distracted because my cat's doing something adorable. Oh my god,
They're so
seriously,
funny.
Seriously, she's coming to enjoy the sun.
Oh my gosh. You know, I heard they always pick the best spot.
Well, I don't know. What do you
Look
think?
how cute. I think he or she picked the best spot. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Look how comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is your cat he or she?
It's a Pinky. She's a girl. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She's adorable.
Yeah, she is.
She came for a suntan.
Yeah. She does love the morning. Yeah, I think she misses Thailand and the heat. So whenever it's sunny here, she's just makes a beeline for it.
Yeah, and it's so awesome that you're able to keep her regardless of which continent you're living on. That is so awesome.
Yes. Bringing our cat from Thailand to Vancouver on that long flight was the most, at the height of the pandemic, was the most stressful thing I've done in my entire life. And I'm happy to say that a year later, they're still going strong. Thank God.
No, I mean, I can only imagine. I'm just so happy that everything worked out great for her to stay with you. Yeah. So, Bridie, I do want to thank you tremendously for taking the time to come and chat with us. And like I said at the top of the hour, particularly because the world is thankfully reopening. People are getting their joie de vivre back. They want to, you know, explore some more, maybe take some even family vacations or solo trips and join a group like yours or your groups. And so I just thought it would be a good idea, you know, to have you come on and share with everybody, you know, what you're doing with Seb and all of your collaborators. And I think it's just so helpful to hear it firsthand from you as to how you all are proceeding in this, you know, quote unquote new world. So this new normal. So with that, I'm going to ask you, Bridie, to just kind of close us out with your final thoughts. Just kind of wrap this all up and put a bow on it for us, please.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Well, that's how can I do this well? I don't know. Okay. So travel really can be life-changing. It can really get you out of a rut. And I think we can all safely say that the past year, it felt like to me that life has been on pause. Many people have expressed that to me. I don't know whether that's the experience of everybody. And for me, travel really gives me the opportunity to switch things up, even if it's just a change of scene. So I invite everybody that is listening to this, just do something different. It might be like hard, you might be so stuck in your rut, but try and do something different. Try and see some place new, even if it's somewhere in your local area. And if you can, go a little bit further afield, because whenever I travel, it just re-energizes me and gives me more zest for life. And I just invite everyone to try it, and I'm sure you will feel better.
That is so perfect. You know, do you know the French expression changer les idées?
Oui, exactement, tout à fait.
And so I feel like that's what travel does for me. And like you said, even if it's going into a new neighborhood in the same city or even taking a trip like, 45 minutes away, it just really clears those cobwebs and, just kind of gives you like a refresh, a reset, a reboot. And so I love that you ended with that suggestion because I think it's super powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to thank you, Angels. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk with you. It was such a pleasure. I've seen you on Clubhouse Rooms and I'm just so honored that you reached out, and it was lovely. And maybe you can come and join me on the podcast. Let's talk more.
Awesome. Thank you. So once again, thank you, Bridie, for taking the time to come and share with us. I also want to thank everybody who joined either live or on the replay. So now I'm going to save this to Instagram, let's see, to IGTV, my feed and stories, and then I will message you after.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bridie. Take good care. And say hi to Seb for us, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.